Bart here with Bart's Wood Shop. Today we are outside the shop, just because the lighting is better out here. I got the sun shining, and I have this old rocking chair here. A friend of mine found it in the up in the rafters of an old barn behind his house, and he says that his mom, as long as she has known, it has been up there, and she's in her 70s. So we're guessing this thing to be a good 100 years old. It needs some work. It's been pretty beat up, but the detail is still here. You can still see it. It is missing one of its arms. Not sure if you can see that. Let me get a little closer. It is missing an arm, and one of the rockers on the bottom is broken off. So we're going to need to build a new arm. We're going to need to build a new rocker and basically clean up and make this thing new again for them. His mom really didn't want to get rid of it. It was a good memory of hers growing up. So I'm going to see what I can do to make it look good for her again and make it where she can use it. Also, you probably noticed there's no seat, so I need to make a seat for it as well. But it's going to be a cool project. It's going to take a little while. So the first thing we need to do is literally disassemble it and clean up all the parts. So we'll see you in a little bit when I start disassembling. Alrighty.
Bye-bye.
Alright, I've got the rocker inside the shop now. The next step I need to do is get everything cleaned up. And in order to do that, I'm going to need to literally disassemble this entire piece. Carefully pull it apart at the joints. Some of them are already falling apart. But the plan is to take it all apart, sand it all down, get it all cleaned up. Obviously I got to build a new arm. Needs a new rocker down here on the bottom. It's broken off. So I'm going to be replacing the arm, replacing the rocker, and it needs a seat. So those are the three things I'm going to build. The rest of it is going to be restoring the wood, bringing it back to what it used to be. So I'm going to start taking it apart, and we'll go from there. Alright, so this is what the chair looks like, completely disassembled. I removed all the little nails that were holding it together. I took all the spindles apart, took the backing all apart. The rockers are off, the arm is off. Now the next thing I'm going to do is start cleaning up all the original parts that I have here. And once they're all cleaned up, we can start making the new parts that are broken, and we're going to put it back together. See you in a little bit. Alright, I'm back, and after what felt like hours and hours of sanding, I'm ready to start using a furniture refinisher. Basically what this does is going to dissolve any of the old finish that was on the wood, and help us get it a little bit cleaner so that we can restain it and repoly it and get it all back together. So let's go over by the workbench where I've got everything laid out. And I got my little metal container because you have to mix it in metal or glass because it will totally eat through plastic. So we're going to put a little bit down here in the bottom. Make sure we wear our gloves. And we're going to use a piece of steel wool. We're going to dip the steel wool. And since I already got some on here, we're going to squeeze out the excess. And we are just going to kind of go over it here with the steel wool. The sanding took off the big chunks, and this stuff here should take off just about everything else. It's bringing out that natural wood color to it. And once it breaks down the poly, we'll go over it with a clean piece, and then we will have it nice and clean. I can already feel it getting real sticky. gunk off of this with the steel wool. I'm letting the excess run back here into the bin so we don't really waste it. But it's making a huge difference getting all this excess varnish off of it. Up here with the rag. And these spindles are coming out real nice looking. Still sticky here on the ends. But this is going to dissolve all that stuff. Now this stuff is very strong. I'm wearing chemical-proof nitrile gloves and it's still eating them up. I'm having to replace them every couple of minutes here. So I'm going through gloves like crazy, but this is what it takes to get this old varnish off. See? They're just eating these gloves up. I'd probably be better off with some thick, like kitchen gloves, but this is all I have in the shop. So we're just going to go through a lot of these. And then of course I'll wash my hands real good when we're done. Get them good and clean. Just clean them up one spindle at a time. Using that steel wool to just kind of pull all that old stuff off. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is fix these broken arms. This one here, the end is broken off that would normally plug into the upright portion, and the other one is just missing completely. It's also pretty chewed up here on the ends. This hole here shouldn't go all the way through. It should stop where the bottom plug goes through. So I'm going to make two new arms. I'm going to use this old one as my template. So I've cut this piece of poplar out. And I decided to use poplar because poplar is a pretty good hard wood. It's easy to come by. It's not very expensive. And you can make it look like a lot of other types of wood based on the kind of stain that you're using on them. So I'm just going to trace this out. Make sure I got a good solid line, which I don't. Okay. So this is kind of where it ends, but I'm going to make it stick out a little further because we're going to need to put that tenon on the end of it. I'm just going to kind of exaggerate it here in my drawing. You don't need to make it that big, but for right now, that's what I'm going to do. And now to do the other side, we're going to flip it over. And I'm going to make it the same on this side. My pencil. Just draw it out. Alright, so now I've got my two arms drawn out. Again, we're going to exaggerate this tenon on the back of it here. And I'm going to take them over to the bandsaw and start cutting them out. Actually, rather than that, I think I'm going to use a jigsaw. I think I'm going to get a little bit better control on it because my bandsaw is not the best bandsaw in the world. It's on my list of tools to replace it in the future. But I'm going to redo that line there. But that's basically what we're looking for. I'm going to cut it a little bit bigger than what I've drawn. This way I can sand them down to get the right dimensions. So I'm going to take it over to the saw. Okay, got her over by the workbench. Got my jigsaw out here. And I'm just going to start kind of just giving it a rough cut and getting it right. Alright, so I got my two arms here cut out. They're not exactly the same, but they're close. And I'm going to use some double-sided carpet tape. And I'm just going to use that to hold the two pieces together while I'm sanding. I'm not looking for a permanent anything. Oh, this tape is sticky. Cut off this little bit of tail right here. Okay. Peel the backing. And then I'll put this second piece on top of it. Apply a little bit of pressure. Alright. Now as you can see, they're definitely not the same. There's all kinds of dips and valleys and whatnot. So the idea is to hold them together with the tape, and then I'm going to sand everything down and get it all uniform all the way across. So we're going to head on to the sander. Okay, so I separated the two pieces from the carpet tape. Just a matter of pulling them apart, a little bit of pressure. So what I like about the carpet tape is it's not permanent. And I'm going to use this to mark the center of my hole. So I'm going to grab my pencil, I'm going to go through the hole, and right about in the center, I'm going to make that hole. And then I'm going to flip it over this way. And this is where that little hole in the top comes in handy, because I can use it to go straight down and mark that one. So now I know where the tenon hole needs to go. Now I got a Forstner bit already in the drill press, ready to go. We just got to measure the depth of the hole, and we'll be ready to roll. Got my calipers out here, and it's got a little depth thing here on the tail of it. Okay, so this here is the depth of the hole, and that here should be how far down I want the drill to go. See you over at the drill press. Alright, so it turns out that it is approximately the depth of the bit, slightly deeper. So I'm just going to eyeball it. Got my center marked out. Let's just get my drill press nice and centered. Alright, fire her up. And we're going to make a little hole. there's the depth of the bit, and it was a little bit deeper. So we're going to call that good. And if I need to adjust it later, I can. So I got my first tenon hole done. Do my next one. Same thing, we're going to mark it. My center. Okay. Fire it up. And we are almost done with the arms. Depth of the bit, plus a little bit. And we are looking good. Alrighty. Alright everybody, this is the end of part 1. Part 2 is on its way. Hopefully we'll see you there. Click subscribe so that you can get the notification. See you then.